Good morning, Dragon Warrior, and welcome to the Mind Challenge. So this is your very first challenge in the journey, and I'm really excited to have you with me today, and I'm so excited to be partnering with you on this very exciting journey. So what we'll be doing is each week I'll be starting off with a Dragon Taming video such as this, and then each day after this there's going to be a voice note with an activity or a quest for each day that's going to keep you moving forward so that you can continue to tame those dragons and step into your true authentic self. So if you're ready, let's get started. So if you remember, in the introductory video, I spoke about the three minds: the conscious mind, the unconscious or subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. So in this training and for this challenge, we're going to be focusing very much on the conscious mind. So becoming very aware of your thinking, and in particular, your limiting thoughts, the thoughts that hold you back or really limit you. And all our quests for the following week are going to focus on becoming intentionally or consciously aware of our thoughts, and then balancing our thoughts and choosing more powerful thoughts that are going to move you into these more powerful states and align you back with your true, authentic, majestic self. So now also with a heightened sense of awareness, we can see the dragon for what it truly is. We can see through the lies that it's telling us. And when we're able to come face to face with the truth, and we can see the illusions that we've been creating through these very distorted ways of thinking, then we can truly set ourselves free. So for this week, as I mentioned, it's all about being aware of limiting beliefs and then reframing them into something far more powerful, far more useful and accurate. And then in this way, we're able to diminish the power of our dragons and then align back with our true, authentic self. So where do our limiting beliefs and our fear patterns come from in the first place? So all our limiting beliefs generally set in under the age of 7, before we have the cognitive or the emotional skill to make sense of our world, or they set in adolescence due to these very distorted ways of thinking. And when we actually see how distorted our thinking is, it's amazing that we ever allowed ourselves to think that way in the first place. But when we were younger, we didn't have the resources, the insights, and the skills that we have today. So I'm going to give you an example of how this plays out and how we actually develop those limiting beliefs. So in this example, I'm going to take a child who's growing up in a healthy environment where the child is raised by loving parents. So what happens is when we're babies, we all start out in this really beautiful, balanced state. And then as we become older, we become more curious, and then we start to explore our worlds. And this is where we first begin to really frustrate and aggravate our parents. So in this instance, we're going to take a 1-year-old child who has spilt milk on an expensive Persian rug. And the parent comes into the room and they see what it is that the child has done. And the parent, maybe stressed and tired at the time as well, explodes in rage. Now the child doesn't understand what it is that they've done wrong. They can't make sense of the situation. They don't understand that the milk is going to leave a nasty odor or that the milk may stain. They don't understand that this is an expensive Persian rug. The only thing that they're taking on is the parent's body language, their facial expressions, and their tone of voice. And the message that the child is taking in is there's something wrong with me. And then as we go through life and we keep repeating these kind of incidents again and again and again, that same message is repeated. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. Which then translates into I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. Now it's also inconceivable for a young child to believe that there's anything wrong with a parent. So a young child wouldn't be able to conclude that actually maybe the parent's not managing their emotions correctly. As children, we believe, and rightly so, our parents are responsible for our survival. So if we had to believe that there was anything wrong with our parents, that would create even more fear. So we put everything onto ourselves, that there must be something wrong with us. And then, as I said, this later translates into I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. And this then becomes the big question that every single one of us asks. Am I worthy? Am I good enough? It's a question that sits at the heart of every single human being, along with the need for approval and love. So the problem is that each time we think the thought, I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy, it then brings up these really unpleasant feelings. And then this translates into some behavior because we respond to those negative emotions. And if the thought just remained a thought, we'd actually still be okay. But the problem is we feel our thoughts. And then once we start to feel the thoughts, they deepen into beliefs. And then what also happens is we repeat these limiting thoughts and beliefs again and again and again. And then again feeling these thoughts, and then they become entrenched in behavior. And then what happens is because our minds or our brains are also designed to be highly efficient, our brain doesn't want to be consciously focusing on something that it's repeating all the time. So it's like driving a car, tying a shoelace. So what our brain does is it actually designs a program and then it stores it into our long-term memory or our subconscious mind. And then it just runs on autopilot. And this is exactly what happens with us. So we start to think something repeatedly, becomes a belief, and then we start to develop these templates of thinking, feeling, and behaving, which we just run on autopilot, completely oblivious to these patterns that we've created and how they're playing out in our lives. And they generally play out the same way again and again and again. So when I was really young, I believed that I was deeply inadequate and that I was flawed. I had these vocal tics. I also had attention deficit disorder. So I really believed that I was flawed. There was nothing I could do about it. And as a result, I developed these very negative ways of thinking and then feeling and behaving. So because I felt that I was inadequate and flawed and just not good enough, I would then feel deeply fearful, I'd feel disappointment, and I'd feel shame. And my dominant behavior would then be avoidance. So I just wanted to be on my own. I didn't want to be around people. I used to avoid play dates because it would open up the opportunity to be teased, and that would be massively painful. So I wanted to avoid that at all cost. Because I also believed that I was stupid and wasn't smart enough, I didn't want to be taking on any challenges or trying anything new because I expected myself to fail. And then when I did fail, it would result in even more disappointment and pain. So I tended to avoid everything. And in this way, I could keep myself playing really, really small. And this is what our brain does. Our brain is actually designed to keep us in a state of pleasure. It wants to avoid pain at all costs. And this is why the dragons creep in the first place. So I was really feeding my dragon with all my fears and gorging out these very deep limiting beliefs and neural pathways in my mind. And this went on for many, many years, well into my adult years, where I was constantly limiting myself and sabotaging my life. So the challenge is we create our belief systems in early childhood, and then we journey through life consistently creating these experiences which match our belief systems again and again and again. And we're consistently repeating those same messages. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And what's happening is that this is the past consistently repeating itself or presenting itself in the present. And we are completely oblivious as to how trapped we are in the past. Even worse, we're using the past as a predictor for our futures. So we need to come to a point whereby we realize that our limiting beliefs no longer serve us. Okay, they're poisonous apples that are killing off your true, authentic self. And you may be journeying through life thinking that you're experiencing your outer world, but in actual fact, you're only experiencing your inner world of thought. So the more powerful our thoughts, the more powerful our experiences. And we have these two voices in our head, which we need to be aware of. One is the dragon's voice, fueling us with self-doubt, creating these worst-case scenarios with these catastrophic endings. And the other is our true, authentic, majestic voice, calling us to our purpose, to who we were born to be, urging us to be more and do more. The problem is our dragon's voice roars so much louder, and this is the voice that we tend to listen to. So Michael Neal talks about living from the inside out, and he advocates that it all starts with our inner world. And all the experiences that we have in our outer world align with what it is that we're seeing or focusing on in our inner world. We also have a very powerful part of our brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system, and our RAS serves as a filter. It filters out all the information that we're not focusing on. So we have tons of information coming at us each and every day, and our brain isn't able to process all the information. So our RAS serves as a gateway. As I mentioned, it filters out all the information that we're not focusing on, and it only allows in the information that we are thinking about and focusing on all the time. So essentially, it's looking for evidence to support our beliefs. So if our beliefs are very limiting and negative, we're only going to be bringing in information that keeps affirming these beliefs. So I'll give you an example. If I believe that all men are liars, and this is what I focus and I think about, and this is what I see in my inner world, and then one day I go to a party, and let's say 25% of the men there are liars, and the other 75% are these amazing, authentic, truthful people. My RAS is only going to allow me to see the 25% of men who are liars. And then I'm going to attract these men into my life. They're then going to lie to me. And then I'm going to keep affirming to myself that all men are liars. So in this way, my experiences in the external world are aligning to what it is that I see and believe in my internal world. So imagine if you believe that you attract kind, loving, authentic, amazing people into your life, imagine the experiences that you would be having. And the more attention and the more energy and focus that we put into our inner world, the more real it becomes and the more real it starts to feel. So we really want to focus on creating a powerful inner world in which we're believing really powerful things about ourselves. We're thinking really powerful, empowering thoughts, and we're using powerful language to create the thoughts and imagery in our heads. And this is what we're focusing on this week. So all our quests for this week are going to center around smashing through those limiting beliefs and creating these more accurate, empowering thoughts. So let's step into something a little bit more playful as we explore this week's quests. Good luck, Dragon Warrior!
So at this point in our story, you're aware of the dragon and you've managed to escape its mighty clutches, and you're currently on the run in the wastelands of not good enough. And there may be eerie sounds that penetrate the silence. There may be a heavy mist which can create these feelings of heaviness. And the dragon is hot on your heels and desperate to take you captive again. So to help you on this quest, you're going to be presented with the Sword of Truth. And this will enable you to cut through the dragon's lies and place you back in a position of power over the dragon. So to be truly effective, our sword needs to be sharpened on a regular basis. So we need to be building the muscles in our brains, and our warrior needs to be trained on how to wield the sword effectively. So over the next week, we're going to be focusing on some really powerful techniques, which are generic to taking down all the dragons. So we're going to be focusing on moving away from negative neural pathways and creating new empowering thoughts and thinking and pathways in the mind. So for the next week, we're going to be focusing on the power of language. We're going to be challenging the truth of your thoughts. We're going to focus on how we can develop more balanced and accurate thinking. We're then going to introduce some mindfulness in order to calm and balance the mind. And then we're going to combine the mindfulness with the balanced thinking. So Dragon Warrior, if you're ready, let's begin. Good luck.